In the cold silence of the Nevada desert, long before sunrise paints the sand in gold, a shape waits inside a fortified hangar. A shape that shouldn't exist, a shape the world was never supposed to see. You're looking at the most classified aircraft the United States has ever built, the B-21 Raider. A bomber so advanced, so invisible, that even the people working on it rarely see the full design at once. Tonight, the desert air barely moves. The temperature drops. Floodlights glow against steel doors 20 meters high. Inside, the B-21 sits under a veil of matte black stealth skin that absorbs sound, light, radar, and almost every question the Pentagon refuses to answer. This is not simply a new bomber. This is a generational reset of American air power. A weapon designed to survive the world's deadliest air defense networks, strike targets continents away, and disappear before enemies even realize what happened. For 15 years, rumors spread: a mystery bomber, a ghost aircraft, a flying algorithm. But behind closed doors, only a handful of engineers understood the truth. The B-21 isn't just a machine. It's a platform for the next 50 years of global warfare, AI mission routing, quantum communications, hypersonic readiness, and nuclear deterrence woven into a frame lighter than the B-2 and cheaper to maintain. As the hangar doors shudder open for a classified midnight test, one thing becomes clear. America hasn't just built a bomber. It has built a message to China, to Russia, and to anyone willing to challenge the global order. A message delivered in silence. To understand the B-21 Raider, you first need to understand the legend that came before it, the B-2 Spirit. When it debuted in the 1,990 seconds, the B-2 looked like science fiction, smooth, alien, triangular. It changed warfare forever, slipping through enemy radar like smoke through a keyhole. But as brilliant as the B-2 was, it carried a fatal flaw: cost, nearly $2 billion per aircraft, and maintenance so demanding that each flight hour required dozens of hours of preparation. The Pentagon learned a painful lesson: even the most perfect weapon becomes useless if you can only afford 20 of them. And so the question that shaped the next generation of stealth was simple: how do we create something even more advanced but also scalable, survivable, and sustainable? Northrop Grumman's answer became the B-21 Raider, a bomber designed with every mistake of the past burned into its blueprint. The B-21 is smaller than the B-2, but smarter. Cheaper than the B-2, but deadlier. Simpler to maintain, but infinitely harder to detect. Its stealth isn't just a shape. It's a living system: adaptive materials, dynamic coatings, modular components, and AI-driven maintenance predicting failures before they happen. What used to require massive hangars and days of downtime can now be done in hours. The B-2 was a masterpiece. The B-21 is a revolution. Not because it makes old bombers obsolete, but because it threatens to make entire air defense philosophies obsolete. The true birth of the B-21 didn't happen in public. It happened inside a windowless building at Northrop Grumman's Aircraft Systems Center, nicknamed the Cathedral. No sunlight, no cameras, no personal electronics. Every engineer required 2 escorts, and every room required 2 separate clearance badges. This is where the B-21's frame was shaped not by one team, but by dozens of isolated micro-teams, each given only a fragment of the aircraft. No one saw the full design until years later. This compartmentalization wasn't paranoia, it was necessity. Because the B-21 wasn't simply designed for today's radar. It was designed for radars that don't exist yet. Future Chinese and Russian detection systems that rely on exotic frequencies, quantum return signatures, and AI waveform discrimination. To defeat tomorrow's threats, engineers developed dynamic stealth geometry surfaces that scatter, absorb, and distort returns in unpredictable ways. Radar immune edge shaping virtually no right angles is. Sensor absorbing internal cavities eliminating hotspots. A fully sealed intake system hiding engine fans, the Achilles heel of stealth aircraft. And then came the crown jewel, the B-21 skin. A classified nanomaterial coating that behaves more like a living organism than a painted surface. It adjusts its electromagnetic footprint based on environment, mission profile, and incoming radar type. Some call it adaptive camouflage. Others call it a radar black hole. But all agree on one thing. The B-21 isn't just hard to detect. It's designed to make detection meaningless. Unlike most military aircraft, the B-21's engines are a mystery. No official photos show the exhaust. No public documentation reveals thrust numbers. Even the shape of the inlets is hidden under stealth shrouds. Why? Because propulsion is the Achilles heel of stealth technology and the Raider's survival depends on eliminating it. Traditional jet engines create heat, noise, turbulence, and radar reflections. The B-21 eliminates these with a combination of unconventional design choices. 1. Deep buried engines. The turbines are hidden so far inside the fuselage that radar waves can't see them. Engine blades normally act like mirrors. The B-21 buries those mirrors behind a labyrinth of acoustic baffles. 2. Ultra-flat exhaust system. Instead of bright infrared plumes, the B-21 leaks heat into the atmosphere gradually through wide, diffuse vents, similar to how a reptile releases warmth through its skin. This makes heat-seeking missiles nearly blind. 3. Quiet airflow routing. Internal ducts reshape airflow into smooth laminar sheets, eliminating turbulence signatures. 4. Multi-layer thermal masking. The exhaust passes through compartments that cool it before release. To infrared satellites, the B-21 appears colder than the surrounding desert. All of this creates a bizarre effect. The B-21 seems to glide without a source, like a shadow floating on air. Pilots describe the cockpit vibration as surprisingly soft, almost unnatural, as if the aircraft itself is whispering through the sky. In a world where detection equals death, the B-21's propulsion system isn't just quiet, it's practically invisible. Most bombers rely on the pilot. The B-21 relies on the algorithm. Inside the Raider is a mission computer built not for 2025 but for 2050. It uses layered neural networks, real-time threat prediction, and adaptive flight optimization. This isn't AI as a co-pilot, this is AI as a silent strategist. Here's how it works. The B-21 maps threats in real time. As it flies, it constantly scans for radar emissions, missile signatures, heat signatures, and electronic noise. But instead of alerting the pilot every time, the system ranks threats by danger and calculates the safest path automatically. It anticipates enemy reactions. Using deep learning models trained on decades of warfare data, the B-21 predicts what an enemy air defense commander will do next. If a radar switches modes, the AI knows why. If a missile system relocates, it predicts where. It rewrites its own flight plan mid-air. Traditional aircraft follow pre-planned routes. The B-21 rewrites those routes based on new threats, weather shifts, and satellite intel without waiting for human approval. It handles electronic warfare. If an enemy tries to jam it, the B-21 adjusts frequencies, antenna patterns, and signal power in milliseconds. To pilots, this AI feels less like software and more like a second brain, one dedicated entirely to survival. And one more thing, the B-21 can fly with or without a human. The cockpit can become fully autonomous, meaning the future U.S. bomber fleet might be human optional. The B-21 Raider isn't just stealthy. It's scalable, built to carry the weapons of today and the weapons the Pentagon hasn't even revealed yet. Inside its modular weapons bays, the B-21 can deploy precision-guided bombs, long-range standoff missiles, hypersonic cruise weapons, nuclear gravity bombs, next-gen electronic attack modules, cyber disruption payloads. But the true innovation isn't the weapons themselves. It's the flexibility. Unlike the B-2, which required massive reconfiguration for each mission, the B-21 uses plug-and-fight architecture. Weapons racks slide in like cartridges. Avionics update over secure links. The aircraft can switch from conventional strike to electronic warfare within hours. And then there's the classified payload, the stealth swarm deployer. Pentagon insiders hint that the B-21 can release autonomous micro-drones, mid-flight drones that scatter, jam, confuse radar, and overwhelm defenses. They act like a cloud of digital phantoms, clearing a path for the bomber to slip through unnoticed. Even the nuclear mission has evolved. Instead of relying on brute force, the B-21 uses stealth to get so close that defenses don't matter. It delivers a single, precise strike from angles enemies never prepare for. The world's most powerful nations now face a terrifying reality. They can no longer predict where America might strike, or when, or even whether they'll see the bomber at all. China's long-awaited stealth bomber, the H-20, has been hyped for years as a B-2 killer, a long-range threat aimed directly at the Pacific balance of power. But here's the truth Washington won't say publicly. The B-21 Raider wasn't built to match the H-20. It was built to end its relevance. Where the H-20 copies the shape of the B-2, the B-21 advances stealth with entirely new geometry. Fewer edges, tighter seams, deeper contours, and a radically different materials science approach. Its signature is so small that some analysts claim it's equivalent to a metal marble. The H-20 depends on outdated detection, avoidance, shaping, coatings, and reduced emissions. The B-21 uses adaptive stealth, meaning it changes its radar profile based on threats. China relies on anti-access bubble strategy. The B-21 is designed to slip through that bubble untouched. Range comparison? Unclear. But the B-21's global strike capability hints at refueling efficiency the H-20 cannot match. Survivability? With AI threat prediction, the B-21 can reroute around Chinese missile networks automatically before they even lock on. And here's the wild card. The B-21 is designed for swarms, cyber integration, and joint strike missions with unmanned escorts. No evidence suggests the H-20 has that capability. The B-21 isn't merely a bomber. It's a chess piece China cannot counter yet. For decades, America's nuclear deterrence relied on a simple triangle: ground-based missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and strategic bombers. But as missile defense systems evolved, and as hypersonic weapons changed the battlefield, that triangle needed reinforcement. Enter the B-21 Raider, the stealth leg of the new triad. Its mission is not mass destruction. Its mission is uncertainty. Where missiles announce themselves with launches world can see, the B-21 can take off silently from the American Midwest and vanish into the upper atmosphere. No contrail. No radar return. No infrared signature strong enough for tracking. Nuclear deterrence isn't only about firepower. It's about making an attack so unpredictable, so difficult to stop, that no adversary dares to escalate. The B-21 can penetrate deep into hardened airspace, bypass ballistic defenses, and deliver precision nuclear options at ranges conventional missiles cannot replicate. It can fly below detection, above detection, or through detection, because detection no longer matters. In Pentagon simulations, the B-21 dramatically shifts outcomes. Chinese anti-access zones collapse slow. Russian air defense belts become irrelevant. Hardened bunkers become vulnerable again. The message is simple. America no longer depends solely on missiles or submarines. It now has a bomber that can deliver strategic force anywhere, anytime, and without warning. The B-21 is not just part of the nuclear triad. It is the part that terrifies enemies the most. Although the B-21 is the most advanced bomber ever built, its creators learned a brutal lesson from the B-2 era. A perfect aircraft is worthless if it's too expensive to operate. That's why the B-21's most revolutionary feature isn't its stealth, its weapons, or its autonomy. It's affordability by design. Traditional stealth aircraft require enormous climate-controlled hangars, constant maintenance, and delicate handling. The B-21 flips that model upside down. Its modular design allows technicians to replace panels in minutes. Coatings are simplified. Sensors are easier to access. And for the first time in stealth history, the military can maintain a bomber in regular hangars around the world. This does two things. 1. It slashes operating costs. A squadron of B-21 seconds is cheaper to maintain than older bombers, making it possible to field hundreds rather than dozens. 2. It increases survivability. Because B-21 seconds can operate from dispersed bases, enemies cannot predict where they'll launch from. A missile strike on one airbase does nothing. And then there's procurement cost. The B-21 is designed so every new aircraft gets cheaper over time like a smartphone. As manufacturing scales, unit cost drops. The Air Force intends to buy at least 100. Many insiders expect the real number to exceed 175. A stealth bomber fleet of that size does more than Project Power. It reshapes geopolitics. Because when a country can field that many invisible bombers, it doesn't just win wars. It prevents them. On a windless morning in California, observers stationed miles away noticed something strange, a faint shimmer rising above Edwards Air Force Base. No roaring engines, no heat plume, just a shape lifting quietly into the sky, almost weightless against the desert haze. This was the B-21's first flight. Not live-streamed, not announced, not showcased, but witnessed like a myth becoming real. As the aircraft climbed past 10,000 feet, it left almost no signature. Even high-resolution cameras struggled to capture details. One witness described it as watching a shadow detach itself from the ground. Inside the cockpit, pilots monitored dozens of autonomous systems working in perfect sync. The jet corrected micro-vibrations, mapped air defense networks, and recalibrated its radar profile in real time. Engineers later said the flight telemetry was smoother than expected, a phrase that usually means near flawless. International analysts panicked. China accelerated H-20 testing. Russia issued statements about provocative technology, and military journals ran a simple headline: America just reset the balance. The first flight wasn't meant to intimidate, but it did, because every nation watching that silent ascent realized something unavoidable. The era of catching America's bombers is over. The era of never seeing them at all has just begun. The cockpit of the B-21 Raider is unlike any bomber cockpit ever created. Where older aircraft were filled with switches, dials, and analog instruments, the B-21 strips everything down to its essence: clarity, control, and silence. Pilots who have seen it describe a space that feels more like a spacecraft than an aircraft: clean lines, minimalistic surfaces, and two panoramic adaptive displays capable of reconfiguring themselves based on mission needs. If a threat appears, the entire interface transforms. If navigation becomes priority, the system shifts again. Everything is dynamic. Everything responds to the moment. The flight controls are intentionally simple, not because the jet is simple, far from it, but because the AI systems handle the complexities pilots once had to manage manually. Altitude corrections? Automated. Engine balancing? Automated. Threat prioritization? Automated. Pilots focus on what matters: mission execution and strategic decision-making. And then there's the strangest sensation of all. The B-21 flies smoother than any aircraft its size should. Engineers say it's because the aerodynamic computer makes thousands of micro-adjustments per second, tiny corrections human hands could never perform. Sitting inside the cockpit feels less like steering a machine, and more like working with a living, reactive partner. But the biggest secret? The B-21's cockpit isn't even required. Every display, every control, every checklist, all of it can be transferred to a remote operations center, turning the Raider into a fully autonomous, pilot-optional bomber. A manned bomber when needed, an unmanned phantom when necessary. Every modern weapon system must navigate the growing battlefield of electrons jamming, spoofing, cyber intrusion, and signal warfare. The B-21 wasn't just built to survive this battlefield. It was built to own it. This is the concept the Pentagon calls digital ghost armor. Instead of simply hiding from radar, the B-21 manipulates the digital environment around it. It can distort incoming radar waves, create false echoes, or appear shifted from its true location by dozens of miles. Enemy operators may see the aircraft, but not where it actually is. Even worse for adversaries. Sometimes the B-21 disappears from their screens entirely. Other times, it generates decoys, multiple ghost signatures, forcing air defense crews to chase phantoms. Its electronic warfare suite does not just defend, it attacks. It can overwhelm data links, blind tracking systems, and inject noise into fire control radars. And because all of this is AI-driven, the B-21 adapts in real time, every frequency shift, every modulation change, every radar sweep. The Raider processes it instantly and responds with the optimal counter. Where traditional bombers relied on brute force jamming, the B-21 uses precision. Think less loud static and more hacking the enemy's vision. This digital armor gives the Raider a terrifying advantage. Even if an adversary detects something, They can't trust the signal. They don't know if it's real. They don't know where to shoot. They don't even know what direction the threat is coming from. The B-21 doesn't just hide. It lies. And in modern warfare, deception is power. One of the most classified aspects of the B-21 program is its rumored integration with autonomous drone swarms. Officially, the Pentagon refuses to confirm it. Unofficially, multiple defense analysts have hinted at something extraordinary. The B-21 may be the first bomber in history capable of deploying, controlling, and commanding airborne swarms mid-mission. Imagine this. The B-21 glides through contested airspace, then silently releases dozens of micro-vehicles the size of birds. These drones spread out, each equipped with sensors, jammers, and targeting packages. Some mislead enemy radar, others overwhelm sensors. A few perform reconnaissance, feeding real-time data back to the radar. In minutes, the airspace becomes a digital storm. Enemy operators see hundreds of possible threats, but none show the radar's true location. Now scale that idea up. Imagine larger autonomous wolf-pack drones escorting the bomber, flying ahead, absorbing risk, striking first, or even sacrificing themselves to protect the radar. The B-21 becomes not a single aircraft, but the commander of an airborne army. This swarm capability represents a massive shift in air power doctrine. Traditionally, bombers were vulnerable without escort fighters, but the B-21 doesn't need escorts. It brings its own, and the swarm evolves every year. New payloads, new tactics, new AI behavior. If the B-21 is the ghost, the swarm is the haunting. The Pentagon didn't design the B-21 for the conflicts of today. It designed it for the wars America hopes it never has to fight. The great power conflicts of the 2030 seconds and 2040 seconds, when air defenses evolve beyond anything we've seen. Future radars will be faster, smarter, and more sensitive. Hypersonic interceptors will shrink engagement windows. AI will control missile networks. Directed energy weapons may appear on the battlefield. The B-21's challenge wasn't defeating today's systems. It was defeating systems that haven't been invented yet. That's why its entire architecture is modular. Every sensor, every antenna, every computing cluster can be replaced as technology advances. The aircraft updates like a smartphone. New software, new hardware, new capabilities. Its stealth materials can be swapped for next-generation composites. Its mission computer can take upgraded neural chips. Its electronic warfare suite can absorb new algorithms instantly. This makes the radar future-proof. But survivability isn't just technical. It's strategic. The B-21 is designed to operate from dozens of dispersed locations, small airstrips, forward bases, even repurposed civilian runways. This complicates enemy planning. You can't target a bomber if you can't predict where it will launch from. In future warfare, the most valuable trait is adaptation. And the B-21 was built to adapt faster than any defense system can evolve. The B-21 Raider is often described as a long-range bomber, but that phrase doesn't capture its true strategic reach. The B-21 is not designed to reach a region. It's designed to reach anywhere. With aerial refueling, the Raider can circle the globe, penetrate deep into enemy territory, strike multiple targets, and return home without ever being tracked. Its mission profile is built around speed, stealth, and unpredictability. Every flight path is unique. Every profile is adaptive. From the continental United States, the B-21 can strike Chinese military bases in the South China Sea, Russian strategic sites deep in Siberia, Iranian missile complexes, North Korean command centers, anywhere in the Arctic Circle, anywhere in the world's oceans. And here's what terrifies foreign analysts. The B-21 can approach from angles no one prepares for. Enemy defenses expect bombers to approach from predictable corridors. But the radar doesn't need corridors. It chooses the route with the lowest threat, even if it means a path thousands of kilometers off textbook strategy. This unpredictability makes defense planners nervous. How do you defend against something that doesn't behave like a traditional bomber? How do you position air defenses when the aircraft could appear from a direction you never anticipated? The answer is simple. You can't. Which is why the B-21 redefines global strike. Flying the B-21 Raider requires a skill set no previous bomber demanded. Pilots must master not only aviation but also AI operations, electronic warfare, systems orchestration, and autonomous mission management. The training pipeline has evolved accordingly. New Raider pilots spend months learning to trust the aircraft's autonomous systems. Instead of manual control, they learn oversight, monitoring the AI's decisions, understanding its logic, and intervening only when necessary. Simulators play a massive role. But these aren't ordinary simulators. They are immersive virtual environments powered by the same algorithms that run the real aircraft. Training scenarios replicate future threats. Hypersonic interceptors, AI-driven radars, space-based tracking systems. The largest challenge pilots face is psychological. The aircraft feels alive. It reacts instantly. It thinks ahead. It corrects itself. For some aviators, that's unsettling. For others, it's exhilarating. And yet, the Air Force continues to train humans not because the jet needs them, but because humans provide intuition. The one thing AI cannot replicate. But the writing is on the wall. As autonomous capabilities improve, pilot-optional missions will become normal. Future generations may not sit inside the cockpit at all. They may command the Raider remotely, orchestrating missions from secure underground control centers thousands of miles away. A new kind of pilot, a new kind of airman, a new kind of warfare. No weapon exists in a vacuum. Every bomber, every tank, every missile is shaped by politics, budgets, committees, rivalries, and global diplomacy. The B-21 Raider is no exception. Its development required convincing Congress to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in a single program. But the pitch worked because the world was changing. China's military expansion accelerated. Russia modernized its nuclear triad. Hypersonic missiles threatened traditional deterrence. Suddenly, America needed a weapon that could guarantee reach in a world of shrinking margins. But political challenges remained. Cost debates, inter-service rivalry, pressure from defense lobbyists, public skepticism, international scrutiny does. The Air Force responded by building transparency into secrecy. They released just enough information to reassure Congress while keeping the rest classified. They showcased the aircraft's cost efficiency. They emphasized that a large fleet, 100 to 175 aircraft, would lower unit cost over time. Internationally, the B-21 became a diplomatic signal. Allies felt reassured. Adversaries felt cornered. The aircraft itself does not speak, but the message it sends is unmistakable. America can strike anywhere, at any time, without warning. The politics of the B-21 aren't a side story. They are part of its design. Russia's air defenses are among the most layered in the world. S-300, S-400, Pantsir, Nebo radars, and a network of integrated command posts designed to detect and destroy intruders. But here's the uncomfortable truth for Moscow. Those defenses were built for aircraft that emit signals. The B-21 Raider barely emits anything at all. It doesn't shine on radar. It doesn't glow in infrared. It doesn't roar in the sky. For Russian planners, the nightmare isn't the B-21's weapons. It's the possibility that the Raider might already be overhead, and they wouldn't know. The B-21 can approach Russian airspace from Arctic routes, Siberian gaps, and northern maritime corridors. Even Russia's legendary radar network has blind spots, and the Raider was built specifically to exploit them. In war simulations, Russia struggles to locate the B-21 long enough to coordinate a response. Some models show the aircraft striking multiple high-value targets before any air defense system identifies a threat. The S-400, Russia's pride, relies on long-range tracking and predictable signatures. The B-21 breaks that model. It moves unpredictably. It shifts its radar profile. It manipulates enemy sensors. It is the kind of bomber Russian doctrine was never designed to confront. If the Cold War taught us anything, it's that power lies not in what is seen, but in what remains unseen. Beyond warfare and geopolitics lies something more subtle: economics. Every modern military program is a financial ecosystem. Jobs, supply chains, manufacturing hubs, innovation pipelines. The B-21 Raider created an entire stealth economy. Over 400 suppliers across the United States contribute components. From nanomaterial coatings to integrated circuits to composite structures, entire towns depend on the Raider. Thousands of engineers, technicians, programmers, and analysts work silently behind its shadow. And unlike the B-2 program, which suffered from skyrocketing costs, the B-21 uses modern production techniques. Modular manufacturing, additive structures, automated composite layups, secure digital twins, predictive logistics. This creates a stable cost curve. As more aircraft roll off the line, the price drops. But the real economic impact isn't domestic. It's strategic. The B-21 forces China and Russia to spend billions upgrading air defenses just to keep up. Every dollar America invests forces its adversaries to invest 10. This is economic warfare without firing a shot. The Raider's existence pressures rivals into an arms race they may not be able to afford, and that is a silent advantage as powerful as the stealth itself. The B-21 Raider is a masterpiece of engineering. But like any powerful weapon, it carries a shadow. Ethical questions, strategic risks, and future uncertainties. Stealth creates ambiguity. Ambiguity creates miscalculation. A bomber that cannot be tracked raises unsettling possibilities. What if an adversary believes the U.S. is preparing a strike when it isn't? What if a false radar return triggers escalation? What if autonomous systems misunderstand intent? And then there's the rise of AI warfare. The B-21's autonomous systems are groundbreaking, but they also shift responsibility. If an AI-driven threat model makes an error, who is accountable? Some critics argue that invisible weapons reduce decision-making transparency. Others fear they lower the threshold for preemptive strikes. And while the Pentagon has layers of human oversight, the future is moving fast. Warfare is becoming a contest of automation. Bombers think faster. Radars react faster. Missiles calculate faster. And in this accelerating cycle, one truth stands out. The margin for error shrinks. The B-21 may prevent wars through deterrence, but it may also push adversaries toward weapons that bypass stealth entirely. Hypersonics, lasers, orbital sensors. Every technology creates the next threat. Every breakthrough casts a shadow. The Raider is no exception. Project yourself 25 years into the future. What does the B-21 Raider look like then? By 2050, the Raider may not resemble a bomber at all. Its modular design means its sensors, weapons, and computing power will evolve continuously. Future upgrades could include quantum encrypted communications, hypersonic standoff missiles, ultra-adaptive stealth skins, AI-driven mission autonomy, drone-to-drone data meshing, laser-based defensive systems. Imagine a Raider that launches a hypersonic vehicle from its internal bay, one that travels Mach 7 toward a hardened underground target. Imagine a Raider that commands dozens of autonomous strike drones across continents. Imagine a Raider with next-gen materials that shift color, reflectivity, and thermal signature in milliseconds. In 2050, the B-21 may function less like a bomber and more like a strategic command organism. A flying battle network, orchestrating multi-domain operations across air, space, and cyber. And here's the most astonishing part. The airframe itself won't need replacement. The Raider was built with decades of evolution in mind. Its skeleton will stay the same. Its brain and muscles will keep upgrading. By mid-century, it may still be the most advanced aircraft in the world. In the end, the B-21 Raider is more than metal, engines, and algorithms. It's a statement that in a world of rising tensions, technological races, and geopolitical uncertainty, the United States intends to maintain not just air superiority, but air invisibility. Stealth isn't just about hiding. It's about shaping the battlefield, controlling tempo, forcing adversaries into hesitation, doubt, and delay. The B-21 is the embodiment of that philosophy. It can carry the heaviest weapons, fly the longest distances, penetrate the hardest defenses, disappear into the darkest nights. But its true power lies in what enemies cannot see, and therefore cannot stop. As the next generation of bombers takes flight, one truth becomes clear. The future of warfare doesn't belong to the loudest machine, but to the quietest one. A shadow that crosses continents, a whisper that changes wars, a ghost that rewrites strategy. This is the B-21 Raider. Silent, invisible, unavoidable, and the world will be adjusting to its presence or its absence for decades to come.